we've had a lot of calls to extend this inquiry, including from some pretty prominent Australians. What would you like to see happen?
Look, I think that people want to see this commission do the maximum that it can to improve this society, to ensure that there's no further tragic catastrophes imposed on the Jewish community, to ensure that the exclusion, the harassment, the violence that has been visited upon Jewish Australians for years comes to an end. And so naturally people think that a way to do that is by extending and hearing more testimony. But ultimately, there have been over 20,000 written submissions put forward to the Commission. They have pledged to read every word of those. They have procured documents through notices to produce. There have been closed sessions as well. A lot of evidence has come forward, and I feel like there's a huge body of work there that is now before the Commission to reconcile all this evidence, to understand the depth of this problem, the process of radicalisation and incitement, the role of the hate marchers, of hate preachers, what's been happening in our cultural institutions, really grapple with the problem and then chart a way forward. So now it's over to the Commission. The people have spoken. I think quite critically, a lot of ordinary members of the Jewish community who don't have prominent platforms have been able to tell their stories, and they've been heard loud and clear. And now we wait with bated breath for the outcomes of this commission.
Does it matter to you, just on the timing again, if this report from the Royal Commission is not handed down on or before the first anniversary of the terrorist attack? Like if it was pushed out to next year, would that bother you too much?
Look, we're not solely relying on the Commission to cure the ills of society. You know, that one thing that we've learned over the last 3 years is that we can't rely on central leadership, on governments alone to fix the problems of society. We have to take personal responsibility. And I think the one thing that's come from this Commission is that every institution in our society, organisations and individuals have heard what is going on, and they can take steps to improve things, to make things better, to eradicate this moral cancer that is anti-Semitism. And so if the Commission needs to push back its report, I think that would be lamentable. I think it has enough time to produce those recommendations. But ultimately, a week here or there isn't going to be critical. What's critical is how we respond as a society, from government down to the man and woman on the street, to chart a better course for this country and make us better and safer as a society and ensure that this sort of tragedy never occurs again.
Do you think that the Royal Commission is going to do that? Do you think that this is going to lead to broader change in Australia?
I think that it will, and the Royal Commission has heard harrowing testimony which it can't ignore, from mothers who are fearful of dropping their kids off to school, from school principals who have to conduct excursions for Jewish kids that are akin to military operations with a level of security planning that's required to keep them safe. They've heard from members of the LGBT community who have been excluded because of their faith. They've heard from Jewish artists and professionals and what's happening on sporting fields throughout the country every weekend, the abuse and harassment and sometimes violence. And that's before we even get to the carnage that was unleashed in front of where I'm standing now. So there has to be change that will come from this. And again, I'm not relying solely on the Commission. I'm not relying on the government. I'm calling for a revolution of personal responsibility in this country where we pledge to do better and we do better.
Alex, thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you, James.